Hello everyone and welcome to another Ford Focus Mark 1 What Parts Do I Buy video. Parts that are rare, obsolete or very hard to actually obtain when you actually need them, or where the demand is or the popularity, depending on basically what sort of components are likely to fail or need replacing on these cars in the long run. And I focused on several different departments in the last episodes and of this sort of mini series as such. But this time I want to focus on bodywork and some of the related components to bodywork that you might be interested in. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it's bits and pieces that I've noticed that you're definitely probably going to have to keep an eye on and know that are there. And everything from little clips to massive body panels. A lot of parts are still obtainable, but often these days we're very reliant, especially in the bodywork department, for second-hand or repair panels. Second-hand isn't really recommended for a few things, and it's always best to buy brand new, and that way long-term ownership becomes cosmetically enhanced, and you feel better about your car because it looks better. A lot of these components, they're not really sort of structural components, well, a few are, I will say that, but mainly cosmetic. And Mark 1, it's all good keeping a Mark 1 on the road and it's working for you and you enjoy driving it, but you're not really going to enjoy it as much if it looks rubbish, and that's half the problem because the cost of bodywork is in the bodywork. But at least I can share with you some components that I've just managed to find on eBay that kind of jig my memory a little bit and what to watch out for with certain bits and pieces. So I'm going to jump to the first one. Slight disclaimer before I start. Some of these components I will be able to give the parts number for, some I can't because I haven't got a parts number to give to you. But it's just a few things that you can easily search for on eBay. It's not a big deal. The first one is this. So this is a front wing. It's a pattern part made in Taiwan, most likely. I believe there is only one manufacturer of that body panel, and they all come from Taiwan, where the factory is based. And I believe that they've actually bought either the old Ford tooling, or they've made a very good copy of the Ford tooling, possibly with some European engineers who've come over there and set it all up for the company, and they've managed to keep it going after it was set up and just run it at a very low cost. And for that price, you're looking at about £50, £50 to £60 for a brand new front wing. And I'll tell you what, I've got pattern ones on mine, like most of them are starting to have, because the front wings tend to rot on the corner where it meets the bumper, along the bottom usually where it meets the sill, or it can actually rot around the peripheral where it meets the arch liner, which is really rare, but they can go and they can have chunks missing if they bubble that badly. It's only thin pieces of steel. Luckily, a Mark 1, like many cars of its age, have bolt-on front wings. You don't have to worry about it being welded, having to cut it off and weld it back on. If you mean, that's a very nasty job. So again, it gives the DIYist a lot of power, and there are companies now that will actually, for a little bit more, and I've seen this on eBay, they will actually sell you a painted front wing. They'll paint it for you in the correct code, but whether it matches or not is they probably won't match, because ideally it needs to be blended in. But if you don't really care about a perfect paint match and you just want a panel to look good, but it will look a little bit different from the other panels, then I think for about 150 to 170, you could probably find an eBay seller that will paint it for you if you don't want to paint it yourself. But I would always recommend, if you have even some semi-decent skills in painting, to do it yourself, because it's been primed. All you would have to do with that is key the surface, and then what you would do is get a good paint scan. Any company, like any automotive paints company, will have scanners where they can scan paintwork which is close to the wing. So I would scan the door, and then the paintwork will match to the door, and it won't. There's no need for blending it in and buffing it in. There's no need for that because it's already been done. So yeah, all ready to go really. There's only a couple of other things that you need to be aware about these Bodywork panels. Obviously time will tell how good they are, but I suspect they'll last as long as the originals, hopefully, which will be fractionally about 15 years, maybe 20 if you're lucky, depending on weather conditions, of course. You will notice that in this particular picture there is a hole. There's two holes. One hole is where it actually bolts through into the bottom of the sill. Okay, that's where the wing bolts into the car. Okay, it's just a little nut that holds it on. But there's another hole just above it where it curves round into the outer sort of sill, sort of fake outer sill panel. That hole is for pre-facelift Mark 1s. Do not make this mistake. There are two types of front wings on a Mark 1. The ones with that hole in, okay? Now, if you bought the wrong one, you could just fill it. But it's more work, isn't it? You don't want to be doing this. You want to get it right first time. That hole there is for the sill, the plastic sill cover to clip into on the pre-facelift models. On the facelift models, you need this, which is exactly the same. It just hasn't got the hole because you don't need it. So if you did make that mistake and you got a facelift car and you bought a pre-facelift one with the extra hole, don't panic. You can just put some filler. It's not too much of a problem. Fill it, sand it, and it'll be ready. But it's just a good thing to remember to key everything before you start doing all of this. But these are good panels and definitely go for it. Honestly, if you've got a front wing on your Mark 1 and it's starting to bubble at the bottom, it's most probably the original, because most of them have got that problem at this age at least, and even worse, to be honest. Don't even bother trying to resurrect it, because there is a repair panel that you can buy on eBay, and I was pointed out this ages ago, and it's this. Don't even bother buying that sort of repair panel. You can buy that for about 25, 30 quid, something like that. Don't bother, honestly. Trying to get a body man to cut that off and weld it on without any undulations of the panel is really difficult. Trying to weld very thin steel like a wing, it's best left to really good welders. It can be done because, you know, my Ford Fiesta Mark III has welded on wings. So if any rot was at the bottom of that front wing, thank God I don't have that problem with that car, then it would have to be cut off and welded, and a piece would have to be welded on. But what you'll find is that you might get some distortion in the panel and some undulations that need to be taken out. It's really not worth the hassle. For 50 quid to 60 quid, you could buy a brand new front wing and it does away with that. I just don't get that repair pack. I just don't get it. That is 25 quid. Might as well just buy the whole thing and start again. It's really simple. And to be fair, that's actually pointless if it's rotting where it attaches to the front bumper, because they tend to bubble in that area as well. So there's no point. You literally are wasting your time and money. And so is the body shop. And most body shops will say, just get a new wing. And that's my advice. I'm going to focus on bumpers next, because bumpers have been quite difficult to obtain for many years, until very recently, where I suspect a lot of the old Ford patents have run out. You might have noticed that you can now buy a completely new rear subframe and front subframe. The front subframes have been available brand new from aftermarket manufacturers for quite a few years now, probably 3 or 4 I'd say. Maybe even earlier than that. And the rear subframes are now available as well. And I got a feeling that is just because all the Ford patents have run out. And therefore, any Tom, Dick and Harry can make these things. And including bumpers. And bumpers are number one thing. I've been lucky to get some genuine bumpers for mine. But the aftermarket ones are very well made, actually, to be fair. And this is one of them. This is obviously the pre-facelift front bumper. They're very good quality, and they will come to you in most likely grey primer. Sometimes you might need to use white primer if you've got a very light colour on your Mark 1. but they're very obtainable, and they're not expensive. I believe they're around £70, and believe you me, that is a bit of a come down, because I was looking at about £110 a couple of years ago for aftermarket ones. So they've reduced in price. So that means that people are buying them a lot. Body shops are buying them. People are repairing Mark 1s, or at least going through the insurance. And these are insurance approved panels as well, so they're obviously that good. And obviously we've got the facelift front bumper as well, as you can see. Pretty much the same price, to be honest with you, and it will fit all the cars, no matter what body style. They didn't change many things at all. So there you go. Just a few little things that you might be interested in. You've got the towing guy, and you can probably see the parts number in the picture if you've got good eyesight. The towing eye cover, they always miss. They're always missing off the front and rear bumpers. So yeah, that's another one really. We've also got these. These are the rear bumper mounting brackets. Now, a lot of people take these for granted. You will need these. If you have bought a brand new rear bumper, and they can be obtained as well. I haven't got one in this video to show you, but they can be obtained quite easily as well. I think they're slightly more expensive, but they can be obtained, whichever pre-facelift or facelift again. But if you're buying brand new ones, you will need to have these pop riveted onto the bumper, because they're only held on with pop rivets completely, and it is what secures the bumper to the car. And these probably do need replacing. Even if you've got a second-hand one, sometimes they lose the thread on where the screw goes through. They break and they seize, and they can be a bit of a problem. But you have to buy brand new ones, and they're about £20 a corner. The parts number for this is 1150260. 1150260. Okay, and well, it so happens actually, because of the fact that I now have a second-hand back bumper in really good condition, of which will be going on the car very imminently, I believe. Hopefully so, anyway. Paint pending. I have two of these in my spares in the packets. So if anybody wants these, can you please email me, and I'm sure we can arrange for if you want to have a couple of mounting brackets. If you need them, then let me know. I'll sell them at the price that I bought them, so I'm not gaining anything. So delivered for £40, I believe, will be a decent price for most of you. So if you're interested in that price, please email me, and I'm sure we can arrange something. Just a shout out. I've got them in my spares. I'm not going to use them, so I hope it goes to some other home. The current price for these is about £23, so there you go. You might save yourself a few quid here and there, but they need to go to a good home, and that's what I pay for them. So just a shout out there. Quite randomly, actually, we've got these clips. Now, I'm going a bit random at the moment, but this is again to do with bumpers. The front bumpers will have clips in them, which kind of assist the actual mounting brackets. It's just a small yellow piece that goes between the bumper and the wing. You will need to put these in the wing. They attach into the wing, and what happens is those little tabs get a bit weak, and what happens is you get a bit of sag where the bumper will actually sag away from the wing. So if you don't change them clips, you're going to get some bumper sag. They are pretty bad for doing that, so I would definitely advise changing those little clips here and there, because it really does help, and they should come with some fixings as well, usually very, very cheap. And also we've got, in terms of crash protection, well, if you are unlucky enough to have a serious enough accident in your Mark 1, obviously your bumper is going to be completely wrecked in this case. But if you need to change this, which is the front bumper reinforcement, once again, this is not a genuine part in the picture. This is actually, as I'm looking at it, an aftermarket part again. And very reasonable, actually, about £85. Now, for some reason, then the parts number for this is 1363606. Now, I can't find one for a pre-facelift, because this advert tells me that this is a new bumper reinforcement for 2002 to 2004, so a facelift. So in what way does the pre-facelift differ? I don't know. It's possible that the crash sensor holes are a little bit different, possibly the positioning, but I was under the impression that they are exactly the same. But I would definitely check that out if you need one, if you've had a bad enough accident that you need to replace the bumper reinforcement. It goes right behind the front bumper. The front bumper obviously will be trash. You'll need a new one of them as well anyway. But yeah, you'll need a new one of them. But do check it out. I haven't found one for pre-facelift. I know I'm going to have to find that parts number, but that is for a facelift car. As we go to the back as well, we've got the reinforcement panel here, which will fit any of the hatchbacks. Now, I believe the one for the estate is a little bit different. This is where it differs. At the front of the car, that front bumper reinforcement panel will fit every single, well, in this case, facelift car, every single body style. But because the estates and the saloons are a bit different, this is only for the hatchback 3 to 5 door. This is 1109804, 1109804, and this is actually, I believe, for pre or facelift cars. So all of them, whether it's a 3 or 5 door hatchback, but it will not fit the estates nor the saloons. So I just wanted to clarify that little bit there. These are normally very expensive, and I believe there isn't at the moment an aftermarket manufacturer that I have discovered on here. And if you go to Ford, you'll be looking at £252. Yeah. So I think it's best to go second hand, brush it up and actually make it look good. I think there's plenty of ones out there. If you've got a Mark 1 that hasn't had an accident, then it's probably in very good condition. They don't really rust up that badly, a bit surface rust, but not really that bad, really. But then again, mine's had a new one, hasn't it? About 5 or 6, I'd say about 5, maybe in the 6th year of my car's life, it would have had a new rear bumper, a new one of them, a new tailgate. And I saw this picture, and we've got to come to this because I'm going to come to this subject next. Look at this. You can find all sorts of fantastic panels. This is a genuine panel as well for 3-door, a complete sidewall panel. That is going to weigh a flipping ton. That is absolutely, oh my God. And it's up for £200. It might not be by the time this video comes out. But that picture is quite fascinating because I don't know how many Mark 1s are going to need that much replacing. But that is, the only reason you would need that is, like, my focus is it's been in a severe accident. And to be fair, at this age, I would question your sanity. I think it was only because of the young age of the car that it was done. And as most of you followed 50 Shades of Panther Black through her little story, the second round of bodywork I had done, and I had to pay through the nose because literally that whole side of the car had been completely welded on. That is the amount of car that is new to my car, but it's not on the driver's side, it was on the passenger side. So boot, reinforcer, rear bumper, the reinforcement backing panel, which I believe you can probably get from Ford still if you're lucky. It's a very thin piece of steel, and if you take the back bumper off, do not be surprised to find holes. Nick's Jazzabella has had that problem, and many other Focuses will also have rotten reinforcement panels because it is just as thin as your front wings. Some people are lucky, some people are not. The only way of doing it is by having a body shop, cut it off and weld a new one on. It won't be too much of an ask, but it's welding and it adds up. And on top of all that, it had that done. So it had literally a quarter of the car replaced, including, you know, all this. It's amazing that my car actually is as straight as what it is. There's not many things that don't line up very well nicely on that car now. And there's still some signs in the past of this happening. But if you've got an accident, you can still get this stuff. But it's, I mean, I've got to say, this is £200. That is very cheap. So this is clearly someone who's bought it, never used it, and yeah, wow, interesting one. What was actually curious, on my discovery of all these repair panels is this one. Yeah, as you can see, it is a Mark 1 Focus fuel filler surround repair panel. Why? It's down as being, it's up for £8. I mean, that's cheap. It's a bit of steel that just needs cutting in. I mean, that sort of repair panel is absolutely perfect for Mark 3 Fiestas, Mark 4 Fiestas, Mark 5 Fiestas, Mark 1 KAs. These all have serious issues around the filler neck area. And that is a typical repair panel that you will see welded into a lot of them these days. But on a Mark 1 Focus, I have actually never physically seen a Mark 1 rot in that area. I've never seen one. Maybe there might be an odd little bubbling, but that's due to petrol spillages and paintwork damage, nothing massive. I've never seen actual physical rust corrosion. Oh my God, that needs cutting out on a Mark 1. Never, ever. And I don't think that will ever be the case because they never do it. So I'm curious to know why some manufacturer thought we need to start making these. There clearly is a market for them, because they wouldn't make them, but why? I mean, the only reason you would have that done is because of rust. If it was of accident damage, you're looking at a wider area, so hence why the whole quarter panel. But that's a very curious one. But if we go to the next one, which is this. So this is the left-hand side arch. Now, if you have some rusty arches on your Mark 1, usually it's the inner arches and it can just be patched up, and most people would just stick the arch liners back on, cover it up, and you won't have to see the welding. But I haven't done that with mine because I just don't think they should be fitted ever again. But I keep going on about that, but each their own on that one. But if you have got some severe corrosion on your Mark 1 and it's got to the point where your arches are so bubbled and holed, you need to replace it with this panel. I'm very pleased that such a panel exists, but if your Mark 1 is that bad that it needs that panel replacing and the whole thing cutting out, I want to know how good your inner arches are, because I cannot imagine your arches being very good. And equally, this is a sort of £90 repair part. It's quite cheap actually for that amount of pressing work. Again, all this would have come off old presses. So it's amazing that this stuff is here, because, as I say, the Mark 1 Focus is a mass-produced car, and the advantage is these panels. It really is. It's almost as good as owning a Mini. There are not many cars this age that are going to have this many repair panels available. It is like owning a classic Mini, because a classic Minis you can rebuild everything. And I hope that more and more repair panels are made in the future. I mean, goodness me, what I would like to see that you're not going to see in this episode is doors. I would like to see repair panels for the actual doors. I mean, some people would just say put a new bit of metal at the bottom of the doors. But what if you could actually get a complete new door skin and actually have the door skin welded onto the inner door? So there's a lot of options there. And I definitely think there's a few pieces that need to be looked at in the future, because, well, this is it. But most of these pieces have actually been looked at. This is the next piece, which will relate to what I've just said. So if this area of the arch has started to go really badly to the point you need to cut it out, I'd be more concerned about the inner arches and the sills, which is really the next thing I'm going to show you. Obviously, this is a repair panel set for 5-door, a pair of 2 of these, and this one's up for about £95. Again, you can't tell the quality of this steel, but for £95, that's pretty good going. It would get the ball rolling towards having it actually physically welded. And most body shops would appreciate just literally putting them on. And what body shops will do is they will assess the amount of corrosion, and probably they won't use all of that panel you've given them. They probably won't, because this panel comes with the step that goes into the sill where you open your door. So the sill step. If it doesn't go that far, body shops won't go that far. They'll try and keep it as simple as possible and cut it nice and straight along that edge. So it's literally just the outer panel. that will need to be sort of jigged up. They do fit quite nicely. They do require a bit of jigging, but so does every single bit of metal work. But if you present your body shop with that, they'll be like, you know what, that's half the job done. No fabrication work, and most likely they'll do it themselves anyway. They'll end up buying the panels anyway, pre-bent. It's skilled work getting panels like that, and these panels do look really good, and they are very, very high quality. And I'll just really end this by showing you another set, and this is for the 3 doors. Yep, the complete 3 door sill, and yep, that's as simple as what it gets. Again, there'll be probably not, I think half of that panel probably won't even be used. It'll be just be discarded as scrap metal or whatever. This is about £115, so a bit more expensive for some strange reason, but maybe it's just the seller in question. There are lots of panels that you can get for Mark 1, and you know, we're talking about, you know, front wings. You can get aftermarket front bumpers. You can get rear bumpers aftermarket. I couldn't find it in this episode, but I didn't look hard enough, to be fair. But you can get them. You can get, obviously, the quarter panels. You can also get the entire quarter panel if you want. You can get the reinforcing panels. You can get the reinforcing bars at the back and at the front. You can get all the trims and mouldings. I've just talked about the grille today and the towing eye covers, just little bits and pieces, and the little clips of the bumpers. In fact, I don't think there's anything that I would be concerned about. There's plenty of glass around with a Mark 1. If you get a smashed bit of glass, there's plenty of glass around 3 or 5 doors. So don't worry about that. You can probably buy it brand new, but don't worry about it. Windscreens are not a problem. If you are determined that you want to have a back window that works with all the heated elements, you can also cut that off using a bit of fishing line, and it's only bonded onto the tailgate. You could take it off and buy an aftermarket one with a heated screen, put it on, and you'll have a back window that works fully. But if you don't, like most of us, don't care really. The only mouldings or bits of trim or things that I've found really difficult to get hold of is the door mouldings. I find that the door mouldings for the 3 doors are extremely hard, and I was lucky to get some of mine, as you've seen in my previous episodes when I started sticking them on after all that paintwork. I had to buy mine in Spain and Portugal. Oh, well, one in Portugal, one in Spain. So there was a lot to be done. But apart from this, on a Mark 1, not many body panels. Now, there is one body panel that is becoming a little bit easier to find, and that's bonnets. I haven't actually got a picture of it to show you, but I'm sure there's an aftermarket producer who's making bonnets. And in an accident, if it's front bumper, wings are crumpled, most likely the bonnet will be kinked a bit as well. There'll be a lot of work, and most likely the slam panel at the front might need to be looked at as well, which locates and holds all the radiators and stuff. But again, you can get it all second-hand if you want to and just paint it up. It's not a problem. There's an awful lot of things out there, and Mark 1's us in such a good place with parts in this department, it's untrue. There are known rust areas. It's known to be a rusty car at this age. It's a Ford. They don't rust as badly as Fiestas or KAs on the same age, but they rust worse, and probably a Mondeo of the same age. Mondeos can go a bit, but they're not as bad. So there's a lot of repair panels as such, and that's the main thing at the end of the day. This is what kills a lot of cars, that we don't have repair panels. So I'm really pleased that I could show you all of this, and hopefully you've got some insight into what to look for if you have an accident, or if you're just cutting out rust basically and you're discussing this with the body shop. And most of the discussion will be parts. What parts can I actually produce? So hopefully you can go to the body shop and say, look, I've got the panel, it just needs welding on. And if you want paint, yeah, okay, you know, you can do a bit of painting. They can do a bit of painting, whatever you want to do. But anyway, I will leave you be, guys. You take care, and I shall see you in another episode. Hopefully this was very helpful, and look after yourselves. Take care.